Dead by Daylight is an asymmetrical PvP game where players have the option to play in first-person mode as a killer or in third-person mode as one of 4 survivors. Now, since I'm not super well versed in the killer side of things, this video will be mainly covering survivor tips, tricks, and gameplay. As a survivor, it is your job to complete a number of generators in order to power the 2 exit gates located on each map. An alternate form of escape is the hatch, but we'll talk about that one a little later. So long story short, you're trying to escape with your life, but before we go too far into gameplay, we need to talk about the prep work before you load into the game, so that you have the best chances of getting away from the killer and escaping. Now, let's talk about the survivors. Dead by Daylight has a lot of survivors to choose from, but unfortunately quite a few of them are locked behind DLC purchases. Now, I know that sounds pretty bad, but it's not that big of a deal, as I'll explain later. The base game comes with 4 main beginner survivors: Dwight Fairfield, Meg Thomas, Claudette Morel, and Jake Park. The game also has 3 DLC packs that are free to players, at least on Steam, that come with an additional 3 survivors: Nia Carlson, Bill from Left 4 Dead, and David King. So, you should have access to all 7 of these survivors whenever you start. If you feel like collecting the other DLC survivors, I highly recommend waiting for the summer sale, winter sale, or for a Dead by Daylight event. They normally put all the DLC packs on sale anywhere from 30% off to 50% off. Now, all survivors have the same movement speed, and certain survivors don't really give you an advantage in game. I would think of them more as cosmetics. Now, clearly they have things that separate them from each other. You can choose them because you like the way they look, or you like their cosmetics, which can be viewed in the store. Or maybe you like their lore, which you can read in the survivor information panel. But in reality, it doesn't really matter which survivor you play. What really matters is the perks that you choose to run on each survivor. Perks are the abilities that you can put on survivors to help you in every situation. Some help you run from the killer, like Sprint Burst or Dead Hard. Some help you and your team repair generators faster, like Prove Thyself. And some reveal auras to you to help you find the killer or locate other things on the map, such as totems and chests. Now, the game has a basic set of perks that are available to all survivors. However, every single survivor has 3 unique perks that the others initially won't have access to. Things like Claudette's Self-Care or Jake's Iron Will, Meg's Sprint Burst, Bill's Unbreakable, and Dwight's Prove Thyself are all popular picks amongst survivor players. However, they're all personal perks and individual to those particular survivors. As you level up your survivor, you'll start unlocking their teachables that allow those 3 unique perks to become shareable to other survivors. It'll start at level 30, then again at level 35 you'll unlock another one, and you'll unlock your last one at level 40. Once you unlock these orange perks, or teachables, you'll be able to find these personal unique perks in other survivors' blood webs and use them on any of the other survivors you've unlocked. This is the only reason that I would ever advocate for you to choose one survivor over another, at least at the very start. Find someone's perks that you like, then level them up, and use your favorite perks on whatever your favorite survivor is. As stated earlier, you can find perks in your blood web located here. You will also find items like toolboxes and medkits, add-ons for your items, and offerings in your blood web. In order to unlock things in your blood web, you'll have to spend blood points, or BP for short whenever you're typing or abbreviating. Blood points are the main currency in Dead by Daylight, and you unlock them from simply playing the game. It's awarded to you at the end of your matches, and you can get blood points for doing anything: repairing generators, running from the killer, cleansing totems, unhooking another survivor, etc. You can spend your blood points in your blood web to unlock any of the things mentioned earlier. Once you clear or buy all of the things in your current blood web, you'll level up your survivor by 1 level, and a new blood web will appear. Once you hit level 10, the entity, or the main villainous being in the lore, will begin interfering and taking things from you in your blood web. The entity will almost always start by taking the perk that's closest to it, so make sure to grab that one quick if that's the one that you've wanted. After that, it'll work its way from the outside in, taking whatever is connected to first. This will force you to start prioritizing what you want out of your blood web, to try and grab it before the entity does. Once you hit level 50, you will stop leveling up upon completing a blood web, but you will have infinite blood webs to work through. Another thing that I should definitely mention is that every single survivor's unlockables, aka the items, offerings, add-ons, and perks, are only unlocked to that particular survivor. Think Soulbound if you've ever played WoW at any point. If you unlock 2 flashlights on Meg, you can't switch to Jake and use those same flashlights. You have to go spend blood points and unlock 2 more flashlights out of Jake's blood web in order to use them on Jake. That's why you should probably be careful who you spend your blood points on. Chances are you'll probably be stuck on that character once you start spending. Another tip I should mention is that blood points can be spent on any character, including killers. You can play a survivor with all of your favorite perks and earn blood points that way, then spend your blood points on a survivor or even another killer you plan on trying, or vice versa. So please don't torture yourself by leveling up a survivor with good perks and then thinking that you have to switch and play a level 1 survivor with a 1 perk loadout to earn blood points for them. Now, there are 4 types of things that you find in the blood web. Perks, which we've already discussed, items, offerings, and add-ons. Items come in the form of toolboxes, medkits, maps, flashlights, and keys. They all come in different rarities, with each rarity having more time usage and normally a bit of a faster speed, with brown being the worst, or common, yellow being uncommon, green being rare, purple being very rare, and pink being ultra rare. Items can be found in the blood web or in chests in the game. You can bring any item you own into the game with you by selecting it here. You can also use your item by using the action key for your particular console. Toolboxes make your repair speed faster and allow you to sabotage the killer's hooks. Medkits allow you to heal yourself or heal others at an increased speed. Flashlights allow you to blind the killer, and if timed properly, can be used to free a survivor they are carrying. Maps allow you to track things around the map that you find. Keys, with the exception of a rare green one, can be used to open the hatch for 30 seconds, and with add-ons can do other things including seeing the auras of killers or survivors. Each item, when brought into the game, has a bar that shows you how much usage it has left. Once that bar runs out, you won't be able to use that item anymore for that trial. If you escape with it, you will get to keep your item, and its usage bar will be refilled for the next game. If you die, you will lose your item and any add-ons that you had attached to it. Add-ons are exactly what they sound like. You attach them to your item in order to increase the item's power or give it new ones. You can attach a maximum of 2 add-ons to any of your items. It would take me an eternity to cover them all, so I just suggest reading through them and finding whichever one works for your situation. Add-ons differ from items in the regard that even if you escape with your item and add-ons, the add-ons will be consumed and you won't be able to use them again, whereas you can use your item again. Offerings are something that you burn. They are a one-time, one-match use. Dead by Daylight has many different offerings. Some will spawn you on different maps. Some increase the percentage of blood points you get from that match. Some will spawn you near your teammates. Some affect the hook spacing or the amount of chests on the map. Some also increase your luck, which gives you a slightly higher chance to unhook yourself by attempting to escape, or it gives you a higher chance to find rare loot in chests. Some affect the amount of mist on each map. So as you can tell, there's a bit of a variety. There is also one offering in particular called the White Ward, which prevents you from losing your add-ons for that match. The rarities that are applied to items are the same color for both add-ons and offerings, with brown being the worst and pink being the best. One last thing to mention for these unlockables is that they are normally event items and offerings that you can find and unlock in the Blood Web during a Dead by Daylight event, so make sure to be on the lookout for those too. There's a couple more things that I should mention before we hop into the game. First, the tutorial for this game is located here. It's not as good as this guide, but I still recommend new players and returning players do it, because it rewards you 50,000 blood points upon first completion. I would do both the killer and the survivor one so that you have 100,000 blood points total to spend on your first survivor or killer. Second, the number in the upper right corner is your rank. Rank 20 is the lowest, and rank 1 is the highest. If you hover over it, you will see a number of circles, and once you start playing, you'll see a white diamond looking mark appear in it. The community calls these pips. Once you fill up all of the circles with pips, you will rank up to the next rank. I'm not going to go too in depth on this, but if you would like a video about it, let me know in the comments. Third, once you hit level 50, you may notice that you'll get a notification about prestiging your character. Prestiging your character will reset or restart that character at level 1, with no perks and wipe their inventory clean. It will, however, award you a bloody cosmetic and the chance of finding higher rarity items in your blood web. I don't suggest doing this at all until you have all of the teachables unlocked, so I wouldn't worry about this game mechanic, especially if you're new. I personally don't prestige my survivors unless I have 1,000,000 blood points saved up, which is the cap for blood points, and there's a double blood point event going on, because it takes a lot of blood points to get your survivor or killer back up to level 50 with your desired perks. Finally, leveling in this game is really simple. Playing a match will give you experience. Once you level up, you will get these blue things called iridescent shards. These shards can be used to buy cosmetics in the store and also can be used to buy teachable perks in the Shrine of Secrets, which resets with 4 new teachable perks every week. You can buy teachables here instead of leveling up another survivor, or you can also find the teachables for survivors you don't own because of the DLC packs. Another thing that I should probably mention is the archives, which are accessed here. They are little challenges that you can complete to unlock charms, which is another cosmetic in the game, and more blood points. These are pretty self-explanatory and a fun way to add new challenges into the game. You also have daily rituals that are accessed here. A new one is added every day if available and if there's room. I personally don't worry about these, but you feel free to do them for the blood points. Now, since you know more about perks and items and offerings and the challenges and how to best prep yourself, let's get to what you've all been waiting for. Let's ready up and get into a game. Once you get into game, you can see the status of yourself and the other survivors and the current objective in the bottom left side of your screen. You can see the perks that you have selected in the bottom right hand of your screen. And you can see the status effects for your survivor, including hex curses, located here. Now, the way that I break down the game is into 4 categories that are similar to the emblems that you see at the end of your match. These categories are objectives, altruism and team play, the chase, or looping, and escaping. Objectives are arguably the most important element of them all. As a survivor, your main objective is to complete the 5 generators so that you can begin to open the exit gates and escape. Generators are located around the map and take about 80 seconds to complete normally and by yourself. Generators have skill checks, which you can hear via an audible alert and then a circle popping up. If you hit your skill check in the great zone, your generator will gain a little bit of progression. If you hit it in the good zone, nothing bad or particularly good happens. If you don't hit the skill check anywhere in the zone, the generator pops, losing a little bit of progression and notifying the killer of where your location is. Generators are your main objective, but there are other side objectives that you may find around the map. Opening chests is one of them. By opening a chest, you have a chance to find an item that may or may not be useful to you. Cleansing totems are also considered a side objective, as they kind of contribute to the outcome of the game. Killers may or may not run perks called hex perks. These perks are associated with a fire totem located somewhere on the map. That perk and its ability will stay active as long as the fire totem or hex totem is standing. You can cleanse these to get rid of the ability and save your team the trouble. This can be particularly useful for perks like Hex Ruin, or Hex Devour Hope, or Hex Noed, or No One Escapes Death. These are particularly tricky, and if you're not careful, can turn the tide of the game. There are also other side objectives that are killer specific. For example, the pig can place a ticking time bomb trap on your head. If you don't get rid of it before the timer runs out, you'll die. The way that you get the trap off is by searching the saw boxes located around the map if your killer is the pig. These saw boxes also give you skill checks, so just be aware. Altruism and team play is another important category. As the game progresses, you and your teammates will inevitably become injured and then downed. Injured and downed survivors make a lot of noise and leave blood trails, so it's important to heal them as quickly as possible in most cases, so it's harder for the killer to find them. Healing other survivors also has skill checks, so just be aware of that. If you or another survivor becomes downed, you can be picked up by the killer and then hooked. The hook has 3 phases: your first hook, second hook or struggle, and your last hook, which is your death hook. Whenever you are first hooked, you just kind of hang there, but you do have the option to attempt to escape. As you hang there, you'll be able to see the aura of the other survivors, and you'll notice the progress bar begin to decay. If you attempt to escape, you have a 4% chance to unhook yourself, and if you fail the attempt, you'll lose about a third of your progress on your hook progression. Once you are unhooked by a teammate or hooked again, if you just hang there for 1 minute until your bar reaches half, you will go into struggle, or the second phase of your hook. Struggle requires you to spam spacebar or any other key depending on if you rebind it. If you let go for any reason, you will die. Once you reach struggle, if you are unhooked and hooked again or wait for 1 more minute, you will instantly die on your third hook. Seeing as you can't really unhook yourself, this is where you have to rely on your teammates. As a survivor, if you notice another hooked teammate, it's probably a good decision to make your way towards them in a timely manner to ensure that they don't lose 2 phases of the hook without being unhooked before each phase. I would only do this if you notice your team is in a good spot with generators. As a survivor, you have to be able to think, am I being too altruistic? If everyone is unhooking everyone, no generators will ever get done and you will all eventually die. If no one helps the other person out, the survivors will die quickly and there will be less people working on generators. It's about helping each other and focusing on the main objective. You have to work on finding a balance or no one will be able to escape. The chase and looping is another super important category in Dead by Daylight. In almost all of your games, the killer will eventually find you and try to down you and hook you. It takes 2 hits normally to put you in the down state. 1 to put you in the injured, and 2 to put you in the down or dying state. Looping is a skill that most survivors should learn how to do at least decently. It's almost essential. It's basically trying to see how much you can waste the killer's time. Looping the killer around objects and terrain using pallets and windows to your advantage is very important and deserves a whole video in itself. I'll link one of my favorites in the description below that helped me learn how to be a better looper. It's also important to watch other YouTubers who are good at looping or streamers and try to imitate what they do. It's important to note that dropping a pallet on a killer will temporarily stun them, and that if you fast vault a window or jump through a window while running, you will notify the killer of your location. Running also leaves scratch marks, which only the killer can see. Scratch marks are glowing red marks that last for about 10 seconds, so make sure you're being careful where you're running or you might lead the killer right to you. I can make a video on looping and how to run from the killer, and some certain mechanical skills like 360s. If wanted, just let me know in the comments below. The last category is escaping. There are 2 ways to escape. The first is to open one of the 2 exit gates once all the generators are powered. The second is to escape through the hatch. The hatch is only open if you're the last survivor alive, and it's important to note that the killer can close the hatch if he finds it first. The hatch can also be opened again with a key if it is closed. If the hatch is closed by the killer because you're the last survivor, or if an exit gate is open, endgame collapse will start. The bar in the upper part of your screen is a timer. If someone is downed or hooked, then the bar will turn gray and slow down slightly. If you're not out of the map by the time endgame collapse runs out, you will instantly die, so make sure to be out by then. Finally, the last thing that I want to add for new survivors and players is that each killer has a unique ability. I suggest going to the killer side of things, opening up the killer information panel, and reading about the abilities before jumping into a game to experience them firsthand. You can also read about the perks and abilities at the end of the game by hovering over them to learn more about what you and your other teammates used or what the killer used for perks. Well, Anyways, y'all, that's really all I have for today. I hope this video makes Dead by Daylight a little easier to understand and that you're able to take at least one thing away from this video. I truly hope that you'll consider subscribing, commenting, or leaving a like, and as always, follow your heart, and bye!